Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Bedtime Stories with Neelu. How are you? I'm sure you're doing well. Thank you so much for yesterday's story responses. And yesterday's story was about the precious jewel. The message was that the most precious jewel is there within us, and it's not something outside. So and those who have missed this story can go back to my IGTV and watch it. So today's story is a very popular story. Most of you must have heard it, but I'll still read it out to you. It's a wonderful story. This is about Mrs. Thompson, and it's about a teacher. So once upon a time, as Mrs. Thompson stood in front of fifth grade class on the first day of the school, she lied to them, saying that, like all other teachers, she said, "I love you all." But actually, Mrs. Thompson found this little boy, Teddy, in the front row of the class, and she didn't like him at all because Teddy looked clumsy, incoherent, and was not neat at all. So Mrs. Thompson used to take delight in giving red marks to Teddy all the time. So one day, Mrs. Thompson keeps going through the records of all the children, and then she finds Teddy's previous records. Now Teddy is in fifth grade. She looks at the previous records of Teddy, which are first grade. Teddy was an excellent boy. She feels very surprised. Teddy was so good. Then the second grade, the report says Teddy was very good at his studies. Third grade says that Teddy started missing school because his mother was not well. Fourth grade says that Teddy actually is not faring well because his mother passed away and his father is not being able to give him much time. So to this, Miss Thompson feels very bad. She feels very small. How she judged a boy just like that. Then there comes Christmas party. So during the Christmas party in the class, all the students get gifts for Mrs. Thompson. So Teddy also comes up with a gift, and he carries a small gift, and the gift looks very bad. It's not neatly packed. So Mrs. Thompson still accepts it, and she opens the gift, and she finds a half strung a bracelet with a few beads and almost a broken bracelet, which is just hanging on a few beads, and a half bottle of perfume. So she wears the bracelet and she dabs a little perfume. And after the party, she goes back with Teddy outside the school. She holds his hand and goes back. So while walking, Teddy looks at Mrs. Thompson and says, "Dear Miss Thompson, you smell exactly like my mother today." So to this, Mrs. Thompson's eyes get moist and with tears, and she cries a lot. And then she takes Teddy along with her, and then she keeps in touch with Teddy all her life. So when Teddy grows up and he decides to get married, he calls Mrs. Thompson and says, I want you to be in my mother's place." So she comes there wearing the same bracelet and dabbing the perfume and sits in the front row. So Teddy goes to her, holds her hand, and tells her that he really respects her and she's the best teacher for him. So to this, Mrs. Thompson whispers in Teddy's ear, "You know something, Teddy, you got it all wrong. You are the one who had taught me how to teach. Yeah, I have learned from you how to make a difference." So this was the story. So the from what I understood in the story, it's about humanity and it's about learning. And I remember a small instance, like how learning methods have changed. So when my father was posted in a small village, and there was this temple, a huge temple up and very popular, and many children used to play down. The people who used to work in the temples, their children used to work, and we used to play with them. I was 8 years old maybe, and while playing, I used to ask them to come and play, but they would refuse. That they have to learn the scriptures, and to that they have to get up early in the morning at 2 o'clock. They used to learn the Vedas. So they would their teacher would tie their hair to a nail, and if they're half shaven and they had only little hair. So, and if they were reading the scriptures, and if they would fall asleep, then the hair would be pulled behind, and it would hurt them. So, and they would wake up. So that kind of strictness was there in teaching children. Yeah, you all know how earlier, schools used to be so strict. Now there is no strict method of teaching. Everyone, learning is open to all of us. There's so many ways of learning. Yeah, so I feel that learning is a process which continues all your life. So now that we have an open learning system, we have so much to ready material available. It's for us to think, what is it that in what way can I create value in the society where I live in. If you remember Gandhiji's story which we read, Gandhiji says that only if you contribute you stay in my house. Yeah, he tells one of the freedom fighters. So how can I contribute to my house? How can I contribute to my society where I live in? How can I contribute to, in general, to the place where I live in and the country where I live in? If we start asking the right questions, maybe we will walk in the right direction and learn the right things. So thank you so much and for listening to me attentively. May you all find this story interesting and leave your comments about your favorite teacher, what you like about education, what you think about, how learning should be or education should be. What are your thoughts? Please put it down in your comments. I will read them all and respond to all those which are related to the story. Thank you so much. Thanks to every single person without exception who are listening to the stories and are feeling good about them. Thank you. Yesterday's best comment was from Adil. Thank you, Adil. Thanks to everyone. Now, sleep well. Get up tomorrow morning with a fresh thought. I will see you here again on Bedtime Stories with Neelu. Good night.